Hey everybody, Ryan here at Etrailer. Today on our 2017 Tiffin Allegro Red, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Air Force One supplemental braking system just for the motorhome side. So these Air Force One braking systems are really popular. You know, they've been around for a while and people have been using them for a long time, and they're comfortable with them. They know they're reliable and they want to keep it that way. Well, one thing that can happen is if you upgrade motorhomes, okay, so you trade your old one in, get yourself a new one, you're not going to have the motorhome side of that Air Force One equipped on there. And you don't want to pick up the whole kit. You don't need the vehicle side if you already have it installed. And you don't really want to go down that path of changing everything because, like I said, you're familiar with the kit and how it works. So the solution to that would be just to grab this motorhome side kit. It's going to come with everything you need to get the motorhome taken care of. That way you can hook your vehicle up to it and flat tow down the road safely, just like you have been. So chances are pretty good, if you're looking at this kit, you're probably somewhat familiar with how it works. But if not, or you just kind of want a refresher, we'll go ahead and talk about some of the features. And even better, now that I get to thinking about it, you are going to be using this as a whole kit essentially, because this is going to work in conjunction with the vehicle side. So why don't we go ahead and just talk about how everything works as a whole. So just kind of a quick rundown on how this kit actually works is it's going to have this tank with it, right? And this is going to tap into your motorhome's air supply system. So it's going to be more or less a reserve full of air. And what's going to happen is when you apply the brakes in the motorhome, air is going to come through the line, through this coiled air line here at the back of your motorhome. Whenever it's not plugged in or anything, it's not going to leak or create any issues like that. Nothing to worry about there. Just plugs right in. And so that air is going to be transferred to the fitting here at the front of your vehicle. And so that's going to go through the operating unit side of the truck and eventually tell the brake pedal to get pushed down. And so it's going to be almost immediate, so like truly proportional, if you will. That way you're going to have a great response time and feel whenever you're driving down the road. You know, the Ranger's going to hit the brakes when you want it to, not before or any later. The vehicle's brake pedal is going to be applied at the same rate that you apply the brake pedal up here in the motorhome. So just to kind of give you an example on how that's going to work, let's say if we're rolling up to a red light and you're kind of just halfway on the brake, you know, just kind of pushing a little bit, the vehicle is going to do the same thing. On the other hand, let's say maybe there's an accident up ahead, we're on the interstate, something like that, and we really have to come to an emergency stop and really hammer on that brake pedal, the vehicle is going to do the same thing. So overall, it's just going to be really smooth and much more of a safe stop. So at the end of the day, a great kit that's going to cover everything on the motorhome side and really work out great for those of you that have the vehicles that have the vehicle side of the Air Force One already installed. Speaking of the installation, really not too bad, believe it or not. Once you get under the motorhome where the Airlines are, really not too bad. You do got a little bit of headroom and the lines are pretty easy to see actually. But with that being said, let's go ahead and hook it all up together now. To begin our installation on our motorhome, we're going to be here at the back of it, and we first need to mount up some of our main components. First one being our air fitting that will connect to the hose that goes to our vehicle side. So this fitting is pretty straightforward. What I did was just attach it to this no drill long bracket that I put around the motorhome's hitch. You can grab these brackets here at Etrailer. And then I just used a couple bolts to actually secure our air fitting itself to that bracket. Then we can move on to our air tank. And again, pretty straightforward stuff. I actually kind of pieced together some hardware. That way I could actually just clamp it around our hitch. So I just used some long bolts here and just a U-bolt over here. As I said, this hardware don't come with the kit, but you know, you can source some and do it similar to this. Really straightforward, Not really too crazy about it. Just want to make sure that it's nice and tight and out of the way of other components. Now we can start to get our airlines hooked up. So this will get routed over to our air tank. Now what we can do is route our other airlines. So we're going to have this one here. This will go to the metered air side on our motorhome. So that's the side where you're only going to have air pressure when you actually apply the brakes. This side is going to go to the supply line of our motorhome's air system. The supply side is always going to have pressure. With that said, we'll get these routed up there to where we can tee them in. Both of the lines are just going to kind of wrap around and kind of go straight along our frame rail right here in this area. So the two airlines, we're going to run them together, and more or less they're just going to come straight along the side of our frame rail. And whenever you're routing these, you want to do your best to avoid any hot or moving parts. Both of them are going to just continue along here. Just have them loosely secured so we can kind of get a better idea. Just going to run straight right up until about this area. In this area, they're going to go up a little bit and kind of over our rear axle. So here's where our two airlines come above our axle and where we have them teed in. So before you cut your motorhome's lines, you want to make sure that the air is drained out of the system, so you can just hit the brake repeatedly until all that air pressure is gone. This line here is going to be our metered air line. So you're going to cut that in half, all right, just like we cut our other airlines with a nice sharp tool. Put in this T connector and then plug your metered air line from the tank in the back of our motorhome, plug it into that. This large, thick green line, that's going to be the supply line. And same deal, you just cut that in half, plug in the larger T-fitting into it, and then take the supply line that we ran from our tank in the back, and that just gets plugged in right there. Now with all of our airlines ran, we can hook it up and test it out. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Air Force One supplemental braking system just for the motorhome side on our 2017 Tiffin Allegro Red.